Pull up in motorcades, I got a show today. It's all I'm trying to do, hustle and motivate. Choppers a throwaway, hustle the overweight. That's why they follow me, huh? They think I know the way, cause I took control of things, ballin' the solo way. And if you pattern my trend, I make you my protege. It's lost in that soldier race, niggas don't know them days. Take you in back of the buildings, make you expose your rage. Take you across the tracks, make you explode the face. Now you official now, but you got a soul to save. I just been cooking that new, I'm about to drop in the fuel.
What's going on, y'all? Chosen a Barber, aka the Humble Legend, back at y'all again with another video. I figured this one would be a good one as it presents a couple of different challenges. So we're doing a low skin fade. He has an alopecia spot, and then his design is still pretty much visible from his last haircut. I cut his mom also, and she wasn't able to make this appointment, so she sent him instead. So he came in a week before he was supposed to come in, so that's why his design is still so visible from his last haircut. So we're gonna work it, make something different out of it. As you can see, I have my my Andis Supras detachables with my outliner blade, and I established my first guideline. And I like to establish my drop fade guidelines from the back, because I feel like it helps me keep everything even and balanced instead of starting from the side. So now I'm going to come with my cordless wall detailers and just clean up that guideline, make sure everything is as clean as possible, all the stubble is gone. I know a lot of barbers use foil shavers, or they shave that bald guideline. Me personally, I prefer not to do it for a majority of my clients, just because I understand that the nape of the neck is a very sensitive area, so I just try to avoid it altogether. Next, I'm using my cordless Andis Masters with the blade all the way open to establish my second guideline from the bald guideline. We're going to do this half an inch above all the way around, keeping everything even, making sure all the hair is cut even all the way around. And then next, I'm going to come in with my gold Babyless FX clippers. And the way I fade this guideline out is my first guideline, or the first notch on the lever, is closed, and I'm using it flat against the skin to get out the bald guideline that was left behind with the outliner blade and the detailers. And then my second notch, again, that's going to be flat against the skin, not going up high at all. We just kind of just tapping at that line. You do not want to go into your fade, you just kind of want to tap at the line. And then that third notch, I go up, I use the corners of my blade, and you'll be able to tell the difference in the angles in which I'm holding the clipper. As you can tell right here, I'm just using the corners of my blade, and this is from notch 3 all the way into the 5th notch. So if you have these gold cordless FX by Babyless, my first 2 notches, I go flat against the skin, and I'm just tapping at the line itself. I'm not going up into the fade, not going up into the blend. And then from the third line, from the 3rd notch into the 5th notch, I'm using the corners of my blade, and at that point I'm blending out all the way from skin to the Andis Master all the way open. And this is my system for every haircut, every fade, no matter the texture, no matter what happens. If it's a fade, this is my foundation. This is what I do every single time. If you're a new barber just starting out, if you've been cutting for some time and you still haven't quite grasped the concept of a fade, establish your foundation. Establish what you want to do, what tools you want to use, and how you want to use your tools. It is very important for you to establish a foundation in order for you to get consistent fades, consistent blends all day, every day. It might take you a long time, but if you're an appointment barber, set your appointments that way. If you're a walk-in barber, this is a part of the growth process. So establish your foundation. The better you get, the faster you'll get. So now I'm back to my Andes Supers with the detachable blade. I had the 1.5 on there, and I just went up above the last guideline about 1/2 inch. Same way, we following the curve of the head, we following the curve of the initial guideline that we put in. As you can see, I'm back to my cordless masters with my double magnetic purple half guard, using the corners of my blade. And for this section, I toggle between all the way closed, halfway open, and all the way open. And then, as you can see, I took the guard off and I used the blade all the way open, using the corners of my blade to fade out the line between the Andes Master open and the Andes Supra 1.5 blade. Again, as you can see, the blade is off, and the guard is off. Apologies. The guard is off, and I'm using just the blade open, using the corners of my blade to make sure that is as faded and as blended as I can possibly get it. And this is just me also doing some fine tuning during the cutting process instead of waiting until the end to do an overall fine tune. So I still do some fine tuning at the end, but for the most part, I'm doing it throughout my hair cutting process. So as you can see, now I'm doing a clipper over comb with my wall cordless seniors. It has a fade blade on there, so I like to use this clipper in particular for my clipper over comb work because it has that fade blade. And this also allows me to do some fine tuning while I'm in the process of doing my clipper over comb. And also, as you can see, I flip my comb around between the wide tooth side and the fine tooth side. And obviously the wide tooth side helps with transitioning and cutting into longer hair, and the fine tooth side helps with the shorter hairs and transitioning into the longer hair, the longer parts of the fade. So I'm going in with my comb, and then I'm tilting it out at about a 45-degree angle, so that way I'm not cutting into the fade, but I'll just be cutting the bulk and the dark spots. And typically the 1.5 blade on my Andes Supers will be the biggest guard or the biggest blade that I use in any haircut process, typically. Now, of course, different haircuts, different textures, different growth patterns, whatever it is, they require different things and different techniques. That's why it is still important for you to learn different techniques and be as well-rounded as possible. But I still believe in having a foundation. I still believe in having something that you can fall back on as your bread and butter to achieve any cut, any hairstyle that you want. You have to establish a foundation. You can learn different techniques. You can implement different techniques. You're going to need to implement different techniques with different haircuts and different processes. But if you don't have a foundation, I believe you won't produce consistent work until you have a consistent, solid foundation. So as you see, I'm just applying some spritz to the hairline and also to the area in which I'm going to be doing the design. The spritz is just to hold it, hair it in place, to kind of stiffen the hair up, so that way I can get a nice, clean, crisp line without having to press too hard with my trimmer, without having to have my trimmer super sharp and you know, all of that. So these different things and these different techniques have more than one purpose, if you will, in my opinion. And also with the spritz creates almost like a barrier or an extra layer of skin, so when you're using your razor, it can help minimize irritation. As you can see, just lining them up, making sure everything's even, making sure everything is symmetrical. And this is me just getting ready to do the design. That little clipper shake you see me doing, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to approach the design. So as you can see, I went ahead and I follow a couple of the lines that were there from his last haircut and design. However, this will be a different design than he had in his previous haircut. I'm just utilizing two of the lines that were there before because he came sooner than he was originally supposed to. So the design has the same flow, but it is a different design. I'm doing it to incorporate the alopecia spot he has right at the front of his hairline. So it can be tricky, and I definitely want to try to do different things in this hair. And this haircut is good because it allows you to, it forces you for one to have to focus, but also use your imagination, especially you know, in the event of a design. You know, you have to incorporate the alopecia spot and make it look like it's a part of the design to where it doesn't stand out. So just putting my design in, kind of getting the rough draft of my design in there, and making sure everything is as clean, as straight as I can get it with my trimmer. Then I'm going to come back with my razor, line everything up, make sure everything is as sharp as it can be. And the type of razor that I'm using is the Elegance Milli razor by A-Rod. I love this razor. This is my favorite razor. This is the best razor I've used since I've been cutting hair. So this is my favorite razor. I need to buy another one because the paint is fading, or I might just, you know, repaint it myself, whatever. But I love this razor, man. You can expose the blade. It's a dope razor. It's a dope razor. And again, I'm going against the grain on the design, just to make sure it's as clean as possible, that it lasts as long as it can. And whenever you're using your razor, make sure you pull the skin as tight as possible, as tight as you can get it. You don't want to be overly aggressive and annoy your client, but you do want to protect your client and keep your client safe from getting nicked, getting cut, or any type of unnecessary irritation. So you want to be soft with your razor, but you also want to be firm in pulling the skin tight, if that makes sense. That razor is sharp enough to where you don't have to apply too much pressure. You know, if you're using, which you should be anyway, if you're using a new razor blade for each client, the razor should be plenty sharp, but you shouldn't have to apply too much pressure. All you need to do is pull that skin as tight as possible and let the razor do the work. And as you can see, I just did a little bit of touch-up work with my Wall Senior, my cordless Wall Senior with the fade blade. And as you can saw, that touch-up was real quick, real fine. Like I said, I did a lot of my fine tuning and my blending throughout the cutting process. So This is my final pass with the razor over the design, just making sure everything is as even as it can be, as sharp as it can be, as sharp as I noticed at the time of me cutting it. As a barber, if you take pictures or record videos, you're gonna always look back at your work and see some mistakes or see some stuff that you could have done better. But you know, this is a part of the game. So, and I use my twisted up comb. Now I'm using my shears just to kind of clean everything up, keep everything even on the fade. One more pass with my trimmers. And that's pretty much the look, man. Let me know if you guys have any tips, any tricks, any pointers, anything you want to see me do differently. Let me know. I know I have to be way more consistent with this YouTube, but I'm working on it. And that's it. I appreciate y'all. Chosen the Barber. I'm out. Humble Legend Grooming Studio, LaFont Plaza, Washington, D.C. Come by and see me. I'm out.